jumping right back into the action on today's show, some more questions I just wanted to pose you guys on the rest of this episode, starting with the new Green Bay Packers running back, Josh Jacobs. He obviously signed this offseason with the Packers, a big 4-year, $48 million deal, which also sent Aaron Jones over to the Minnesota Vikings, but it wasn't without interest from other teams. And what I mean by that is, according to Josh Jacobs himself, he told The Athletic that the Kansas City Chiefs were actually very interested in him this offseason, which, as much as it was a surprise, I would say that he joined the Packers in just such a quick motion with just how everything, just sped up at one time. At one point, Josh was signing with the Packers, and then just very quickly after that, Aaron Jones was going and being traded over to the Minnesota Vikings. That all was a big whirlwind and just how it all played out. But I think signing with the Chiefs would have even been more of a surprise and just more blockbuster, just because of the fact of going within the division and joining the Kansas City Chiefs, which was always going to be a very questionable thing, because in the NFL, and much like any other sport, when a good player joins the reigning champions, he's always going to get killed for it, right? And that's exactly what Josh Jacobs didn't want to do, right? Because in his interview with The Athletic, he said, on the Chiefs, he said, they were trying hard to get me, but there was no way I was going there. I feel like once you are rivals with somebody, you have genuine hate for them. I couldn't see myself in that color, and besides, I never wanted to be the guy that joined the dominant team. I want to be the guy that beats the dominant team, and I would say he's given himself a pretty good chance of doing so, right, with the Packers. And now, getting into this question, in terms of impact and how much it has elevated one of these three teams, potentially, if he joined the Chiefs or arguably the New York Giants, because also that was another reported destination for Josh Jacobs this offseason. According to some, the Giants were also trying to get Josh Jacobs to join their team after what happened with Saquon Barkley, right? Having him leave and having it look worse and worse over the course of the offseason that Saquon wasn't coming back. Josh Jacobs apparently was an option for them, but according to these reports, and I emphasize these because there are some other reports now that say that it wasn't really ever a possibility, that the Giants weren't really that interested in Josh Jacobs, but you can decide on what you believe or not. But we're going to go with the fact that he was an option, and according to these other reports, Josh Jacobs just thought that it wasn't the right fit for him to join New York. And also along those lines, he could have also stayed with the Las Vegas Raiders, but they had a chance to match Green Bay's offer, that $48 million deal, but the Raiders decided that it wasn't in their best interest to do that, so they declined that opportunity, and Josh Jacobs just freely joined the Green Bay Packers. And now, with that being the case, it made me think of, it makes a lot of sense for Josh to go over to the Packers and how prolific their offense is right now, right? Pretty much getting exactly what you got with Aaron Jones, potentially maybe even more, just based on the health factor. Aaron Jones, Josh have both dealt with injuries, but I feel like Josh right now is in a better situation for him to not be as reluctant to get those injuries heading towards the 2024 season. So which one would have made the most impact if Josh Jacobs decided to join any of these teams, the Packers, the Chiefs, or the New York Giants? And to me, I'm going to say it is the Packers, just for a couple of reasons, but I wanted to get to the Chiefs and the Giants first off, because you look at the Chiefs, and what's funny about them, and what's actually very similar to what the New York Giants and what could have been with Josh Jacobs on their team, is that the status and the contention of both of those teams individually wouldn't have changed, I believe, by adding Josh Jacobs in the regular season, if that makes sense, right? Explaining it more, if Josh joins the Chiefs, right, they're already a good team. They're already probably a lot of people's favorite to make it back to the Super Bowl, a lot of people's favorite to win that division anyway, be the number one seed in the AFC. Josh joining a good running back also in Isaiah Pacheco, doesn't really change that in a lot of people's eyes. They just see Josh Jacobs joining, and it's like, all right, like, it just makes it even more of a easy call that the Chiefs are going to make it back to the Super Bowl. It doesn't change how people look at them that much in terms of impact and really changing their stance in the hierarchy of each conference. It doesn't really do that with the Chiefs. And similarly to the Giants, I think, yeah, it would have been a great replacement for Saquon if they got Josh Jacobs right after that. But still, looking at the Giants and what they are right now, the support system around not only the running back, but the quarterback himself, Daniel Jones, and how he's facing a lot of scrutiny, a lot of question marks around him, whether or not he is the guy or not. If you add Josh Jacobs to that, as good as Saquon Barkley was, Josh Jacobs, very talented running back as well, and even still, they really weren't going anywhere too much, whether or not they kept Saquon. They could have kept Saquon and added Josh Jacobs, and I don't think people would have looked at them that differently if they had both of them. But obviously now they have neither of them, and even still without either of them, I don't think people think higher or lower of them. People still think that they are going to have a rough season, and I don't think it was going to change whether or not Josh Jacobs was there as the lead back, with Saquon, without both of them. It didn't change their status or their contention. But now, with the Packers, I think you get a mix a little bit of both, because you keep the same level of running back basically with Aaron Jones, because you are running a running back by committee ideally with A.J. Dillon, but now A.J. Dillon is on the IR, season-ending IR, so he is not going to be playing at all this year, which could mean that we could see a lot more of Josh Jacobs, or whether or not the Packers are willing to give more of the bulk of the carries to their rookie running back, Marshawn Lloyd out of USC. Whether they decide on either case will yet to be determined, but I think you still keep that same level of running back with Aaron or with Josh Jacobs, and also it does push you over the limit a little bit, because the situation with Aaron Jones was that he was also looking for an extension. I think he has one more year left, if I'm not mistaken, on his contract. 1 year there with the Minnesota Vikings, and then after this year, they'll decide if they want to extend him further than that. But I think the issue with Aaron Jones and the Packers was that, like many running backs in the NFL currently, there are some doubts over whether or not you want to extend that running back 26, 25 years old, 27 years old to a long-term deal, because of how the running backs are thought of nowadays, right? Very expendable players compared to everybody else, which we won't get into it more so. We've already talked enough of how running backs are underpaid, but they're considered an expendable position right now in the NFL. And with Aaron, that was a doubt whether or not he was going to extend with the Packers or not. So bringing in a good, very capable replacement in Josh Jacobs was great. Not only keeping them at their very high status already within the NFC, but also I think elevating them a little bit more, because the rest of the team has also elevated, I think, just over the course of this offseason. More people are starting to throw in a lot more of an investment, a lot more of a gamble on the Packers, if you would even call it that, in their second year now under Jordan Love being the official starting quarterback. And I think everyone was convinced of what they saw last year from Jordan Love. So now they expect even more, and adding a guy like Josh Jacobs just elevates that or enhances that even more so this year, with adding Josh along with Jordan Love. You have, forgetting his first name, the rookie wide receiver Wicks, Dontavius Wicks, I think it is his name, Romeo Doubs, Jalen Reed, Christian Watson, all these guys. It keeps the offense at that level, but also you could even argue, if you want to get into it, makes him a little bit better with Josh Jacobs coming in. Now, how they figure it out with A.J. Dillon not being there is another discussion, but I thought it made more of an impact joining the Packers, just for that reason, that with the Chiefs and the Giants, you weren't really going to move too much, and now with the Packers, they are more so of would I call them a sneaky team to bet on? I think a few months ago, I think they would have been considered that, but now, closer to the regular season, I'm hearing a lot about people thinking very highly of Jordan Love, and not to say that I don't, or don't think he deserves his extension or anything like that, but it's all happened very quickly, and now the expectations from last year compared to this year is crazy just how much they've changed, and in part mostly because they have added a guy like Josh Jacobs to complement this offense, and really I think for a lot of people elevate it to new heights is what I'm sensing from what a lot of people are saying in the media nationally. But not only that, with these expectations now, I think Jordan Love is capable, of carrying on his momentum from last year, but they are going to be facing a tougher schedule, if I'm not mistaken. I think it is a top 5 or a top 6 hardest schedule in the NFL. So, all that being the case, a lot of people remain high on this team, and the fact that they added Josh Jacobs, I think, would have decided whether or not I was high on this team. But they've kept the same level across the offense from running back. All the receivers are still there, obviously. Now, Jordan Love, as good as he was last year, I think people are still expecting to see a jump from him in 2024. These guys, these two, Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs, should complement each other very nicely. The health question is still there with Josh. Hopefully he stays healthy enough for playing the main part of the regular season. How much Marshawn Lloyd, their rookie running back, gets involved, I'll be interested to see that. But the Packers, I think, did a very good job of addressing the running back right away and not being too scared or doubtful or hesitant on paying a running back $12 million per year. They said, forget all of that. We have a good team. Let's add a good running back. And I think more teams should approach it that way. And Josh could be a very big benefactor of it, joining a very, very prolific offense in Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers. But that's how I feel about it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section on whether or not you would have thought he would have made a bigger impact on the Chiefs or potentially the New York Giants. Leave your guys' thoughts in the comment section. But we have 2 more topics to get to. We're going to mention James Bradberry and the Eagles, whether or not it was a good decision, just plain and simple, of the Eagles keeping James Bradberry. Should they have done it? Should they have released them? Maybe opened up that spot for another player? We're going to get into all those options and why Howie Roseman decided to keep his veteran safety now along for another year. So stay tuned. We're going to be right back talking some more about the Eagles and James Bradberry.